you guys, what's up? I am back in the kitchen, so welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the kitchen. For those of you that might not know me, my name is Tina and I am the creator of the YouTube channel Blessed and Beautiful Homestead. It is the middle of summer and the garden is going crazy, so I have a lot of canning and preserving to do, and I'm excited to share with you guys how I do some of those projects here in my kitchen. So I have previously shared with you guys a sauerkraut video and how to make an easy sauerkraut right in your own kitchen. Today is going to be another sauerkraut video, but it's going to be a different recipe. We're going to spice it up a little bit, and I'm going to share with you how I make my Spanish sauerkraut. It is absolutely beautiful. We're going to use green and purple cabbage. So by the time it's done fermenting, you just end up with this beautiful, almost like a magenta pink sauerkraut, and it's really great for hot dogs. I like to scramble eggs and just put a bunch of sauerkraut on top of my eggs, and it helps to kind of make eggs exciting, because I don't know about you guys, but I can't just scramble up a bunch of eggs and eat them. I need something, whether I put salsa on it or something like that. So sauerkraut is a perfect addition to a scrambled egg breakfast. So without further ado, let's get started, and I'm gonna begin with showing you guys what you're going to need for this very easy Spanish sauerkraut recipe. So this recipe is pretty easy. What I'm going to be doing today is making 1 gallon of sauerkraut, but I'm going to just separate it into 2 half-gallon jars just because I find it easier with storing sauerkraut in my refrigerator to have it in half-gallon jars versus big, huge gallon jars. So we're going to use 2 half-gallon jars today, and all you're going to need is 4 heads of cabbage. Now, obviously, if you just want to do half a gallon, you would only need 2 heads. And you guys, you can do this with whichever color cabbage you want. This does not have to be exact, okay? If all you have is green cabbage, that's fine. If all you have is purple cabbage, that's fine too. But I'm going to mix them today. So for each jar, I'm going to do a head of green cabbage and then a head of purple cabbage. And as you can see here, I actually cut into this one for something. I don't know. I think we made tacos one night. So it's a little more than half a head of cabbage, but whatever, it'll be fine. So 4 heads of cabbage, and then you're gonna want 1 small onion for each jar, and then do about 1.5 carrots per jar. We're gonna grate that into our mixture. Now for the secret ingredient for this Spanish sauerkraut, you guys are gonna want some fresh oregano from either the grocery store or from your garden. I just went out and picked this morning and gave it a good rinse. You're gonna want a good salt for your fermenting. And then I also have some coffee filters here, and I'll show you guys in a little bit what those are for. And I also have some fermenting weights. Now, if you don't have fermenting weights, and if you've never done this, I'm going to show you what these are used for. If you don't have fermenting weights, it's okay. You can actually use rocks and put them in a Ziploc baggie to use as your weights. All right, you guys, so now that we have our ingredients, the first thing we're going to do is get to chopping this cabbage up. Now, if you have a food processor, you can use that. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I have a food processor and I never use it just because I hate cleaning it. So I do old school and I chop everything by hand. You can do bigger chunks, you can do tiny little slivers, however you like it, because it's gonna ferment just fine pretty much however you cut it. I like to shred mine up, so I'm gonna show you how I do that here. All right, you guys, so the first thing that I wanted to mention when you go to chop up your cabbage, when you take off these outer leaves, don't throw them away. You wanna hang on to these, and I'm gonna show you why here in just a little bit, why we're not going to get rid of them. Now, you're not gonna need all of them. We're only gonna need maybe 2 to 4 of these outer leaves for our jars. Now, what I like to do is take off the end of the cabbage, and then I'm gonna just quarter this cabbage based on where the stem is at. So we're gonna quarter it on all 4 sides. And once I have it quartered, all I'm gonna do is simply slice it into little thin strips. All right, you guys, so we've got all 3.5 heads of cabbage chopped and in a big pot. You're gonna need a big pot if you're doing this much. You're probably saying to yourself, there's no way all of that cabbage is gonna fit in these 2 little jars. But as we massage the cabbage down with the salt and we let it rest, it's going to decrease in size a lot. So it won't be as much as it looks like right now. All right, so now that we've got the cabbage chopped, we are going to chop our onions and shred and grate our carrots. All right, you guys, so now we have all of the ingredients in our pot. Look how pretty the colors are already. Now I'm gonna tell you, with the fresh oregano, especially straight out of the garden, it's very potent, and oregano is already a very strong, potent herb. So you do not want to put too much of that in there. I would say I have about a 1/4 cup of oregano in this pot. You might even want to do a little less, but I don't mind the strong flavor of oregano, but I would not do any more than a 1/4 cup for the ingredients that we laid out today. All right, so now that we have all the ingredients in the pot, we're gonna add 4 tablespoons of a good salt. I like to use sea salt. So about a tablespoon of salt per head of cabbage. So we're gonna do 4 today. And we're just gonna sprinkle this around, and then we're gonna mix it up really good. All right, so now we're gonna mix it up. We're gonna massage this up really good, and then we're gonna let this set for about 30 minutes, and you'll see the cabbage start to wilt, and it's gonna shrink down like I was telling you. After that's done, we're gonna pack our jars. So I have the salt all mixed in there, and I've packed it down and massaged it for a good minute. As you can tell, it's already gone down in size. So what we're gonna do now is cover this with a lid, and we're just gonna let it set and let the salt make the cabbage sweat for about 30 minutes. So our cabbage has been sitting and resting in the salt for about 30 minutes. So now all we're gonna do is pack our jars with the sauerkraut. Now you're gonna wanna pack this down really, really tight. And as you pack it down, you're gonna notice that that natural brine is gonna start developing in the jar and filling up. So you shouldn't need to make a brine separate from what the cabbage already produces on its own. And this is gonna get messy, so there's really no way around that. So as you stuff your jar, just use your knuckles and really press that cabbage down in there. Now it's really important that the cabbage and everything is completely submerged into the brine. Anything that is not submerged is going to get moldy, so you want to make sure that you really press it down underneath that brine. Okay, so you guys remember me telling you about these cabbage leaves in the beginning. These were the outer leaves that we took off the cabbage before we cut it up. So I've cleaned them really well. We're gonna use these to place a cover over our cabbage, and then we're gonna shove it down under the brine. And what I like to do is cut the thick spine out of it and just cut these bigger cabbage leaves in half so they're more workable. And you can use as many of these cabbage leaves as you need to. And then all we're gonna do now is add our weight to the jar. And that's gonna hold everything down under the brine. If you have any little floaters in there, just make sure you pull them out because they will mold if you don't. You guys, so I guess Joe and I are having a little contest here. I think he thinks that man hands can pack sauerkraut better than womanly hands, so we shall see. Joe, you're doing great. Dang, look at that. I don't know, Joe. I think I might have done a better job than you.
I'm not even done.
So we used up all that cabbage, you guys. In the beginning, it didn't seem like all that was going to fit in these 2 jars, but...
Just because I smashed it down.
Oh, it's because you smashed it down, Joe.
There's more in this jar than in yours.
Probably true. All right, you guys, so this is all there is to it with making your homemade Spanish sauerkraut. So all we're gonna do from here is I like to add coffee filters to the jar. Now you can put tea towels on here, whatever you want. I do this just to make sure that no bugs and nasties get in there while it's fermenting on the counter. Now, what I have found with this recipe of sauerkraut is make sure to put a lid on the sauerkraut. Now don't screw it down because you need to let the gases and everything release as it ferments or it will explode. But if you don't set a lid on here, because of the onions, after about a week, this is going to stink up your entire house. The first time I did this recipe with onions, I was sitting on the couch and I was like, what is that smell? Like every few minutes I kept getting like a big old woof of this nasty smell. And I realized that it was my sauerkraut. So the last time that I did this, I just added a lid over the coffee filter and it helps keep the smell of it in so that your house doesn't get stinky. Just make sure you don't screw it on. So for your sauerkraut, you can leave it on your counter for 7 to 10 days and it will ferment properly and it will taste perfectly fine. We personally like to leave it on the counter for about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. I like it super tangy and very flavorful. So I'm going to leave these on my kitchen counter at room temperature for 3 weeks. As soon as they're done fermenting, you're just gonna take all of this off, take your weight out, take your cabbage leaves out, and then add a lid to it and set them in the fridge. And they're gonna be good in there for months, you guys. I mean, 7, 8 months, you can keep them in there and they'll be fine because they're fermented. Make sure you add the date on your jar so that you don't forget when you started your fermentation. I want to show you guys what the completed sauerkraut looks like. So this is a finished jar of sauerkraut that I had in the refrigerator. I just pulled it out as you can see here. But look at how pink and beautiful that gets. That was from this exact same recipe, you guys, and it is absolutely delicious. Lexi and I are the main ones in the house that eat sauerkraut, and we eat it just about every day. So when I get about this low on the sauerkraut, I'm starting to go into panic mode. I know I gotta get these ferments going because they gotta be on the counter for at least 3 weeks. So this is what the completed product looks like. It's delicious. As I said in the beginning of the video, you can add these to soup recipes, add it to your hot dog, add it to your scrambled eggs. It's just a delicious addition. And remember that anything that's fermented is going to have those good bacteria that are good for your gut health. So make sure that you guys set your jars inside of a Pyrex dish or on a plate, a saucer, because sometimes as they begin to bubble and ferment, they will spill over a little bit. So if you don't want to wake up to a mess on the counter, I suggest putting something underneath your jars to catch the liquid. If you guys like this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up for me and don't forget to subscribe. Excuse me while I go beat my husband for making me laugh through this entire video. All right, you guys, I'll see you on the next one. Take care. What? Just getting ready to chop some cabbage. And then when you're done chopping everything up, you guys, we're gonna clean up our mess just like this.
Action.
All right, you guys, so our cabbage has been sitting here for about 30 minutes and we're ready to go ahead and stuff these jars. Just kidding.
Welcome back.
Okay, ready? All right, you guys, so this is-
Cut.
Stop.
All right, continue.
You just need one.
And action.
Baby, I know you're trying to be helpful and stuff, but
I got it, it's fine.
we really, it's okay. It's all right. All right, we good? Yeah, okay. Now you made my armpits sweat a little bit. You stressed me out. Okay. I can't do this with you, like seriously? All right, is the red light on? Okay.
Hello.